Hello and welcome to our review of The Strange Bird by Jeff Vandermeer. This is an interesting little novella that takes place in the same world as his Bourne novel. I did not realize that, despite the fact it literally says a Bourne story on the front of the book, until after I had finished this book and then looked it up because I didn't get it. And now, of course, I am interested in reading Bourne by Jeff Vandermeer because I would like more information about some of the characters that were introduced in this novella. Now, despite it being an additional story in this universe, it was pretty easy for me to read without all of that extra information. Would I have probably enjoyed this novella more if I had any frame of reference for these other characters that are introduced in the book? Probably. The whole reason I decided to read this book is one, because this is a much more digestible amount of pages when you don't have a whole lot of time to read than, you know, this by Jeff Vandermeer. It's a big difference there. Size does matter sometimes, guys. I also just wanted to experience more from him as a writer because I did really enjoy Annihilation, which is the first book in the Southern Reach trilogy. Not only does it have a movie out, but it is also a Nebula Award winner. I will link that review up above if you've not seen it. And I realized that I feel like Jeff Vandermeer writes the way my brain thinks, which is probably both a great and awful thing for other people. For me, it's amazing. I feel like the best way to describe the prose in this book is, if you enjoy Delany, like you enjoy the whirlwind and crazy experience that is a lot of Samuel R. Delany's novels, but maybe not feel like you need a master's degree or a PhD in order to understand what he's talking about. This is probably, Jeff Vandermeer is probably a lot more accessible to you. And I'm not saying that he's not a good writer, it's just that it doesn't have the same erudite feel as reading a Samuel R. Delany book. Like, when you read Samuel R. Delany, it is him trying to impress upon you how smart he is, whereas Jeff Vandermeer is just really trying to impress upon you the experience of what is happening in the novel. So far, all of the Jeff Vandermeer I've read also doesn't have the same sexual overtones as Delany as well, so if you're someone who maybe that's not a thing for you, I think you would enjoy Jeff Vandermeer. The actual story in The Strange Bird is following the Strange Bird, which is a biotech, bioengineered bird-like creature that escapes from the lab with which it was created into a post-apocalyptic world, which is the Bourne world. And it follows its first taste of freedom and its first taste of flight, like true flight, and its journey across this post-apocalyptic Earth. And I really enjoyed this book once I actually got into it. This is one of those books I started and then just kind of sat down after I got a couple pages in and was like, I don't really have time for this. But once I actually did have time for it, it took less than an hour and a half for me to read the entire book. And I enjoyed it. It did make me want to read Bourne, and does make me want to read more Jeff Vandermeer again, because I feel like he writes the way my brain thinks. It's really easy for me to understand what he's trying to express. And it's engaging in a way that some books aren't for me, and I think it's just because my brain doesn't think like most people's brains do. But I'm glad that I got to read it. I will of course link it down below if you are interested in picking up a copy for yourself, and I hopefully will I actually think I have a copy of Bourne somewhere in my banker's boxes of shame. But I will see you guys in the next video, and until then, bye!